What's going on, gamers? Renekton, the Butcher of the Sands, is finally being unleashed upon the Wild Rift, and I'm here to give you all the tips and tricks you'll need to be able to slot this killing machine straight into your hero pool. Let's get right into it. Renekton is a melee fighter, built around using his mobility and crowd control to dive into the enemy team and destroy their squishy carries. He uses a unique rage bar mechanic, where when collecting enough rage will empower his regular abilities into stronger versions, giving him more lockdown or higher damage output. He can be a slippery crocodile to peel and keep pinned down, and even when cornered has powerful healing that can help him sustain through multiple foes. He is traditionally a powerful Baron laner with high early game damage and sustain, allowing him to contend with other bruisers and generally dominate in the early levels. However, his high mobility and burst can also allow him to contend in the mid lane, especially against other melee opponents such as Diana, Katarina, and Zed, taking advantage of their weaker early games and using his early power to keep them shut down and prevent them from snowballing. Renekton's passive is Reign of Anger, which causes him to generate fury every time he lands a basic attack on an enemy or deals damage with his ability. He loses fury after not being involved in combat for a short time. When at or above 50 fury, Renekton's next basic ability will consume that fury to have an enhanced effect. While below 50% of his maximum health, Renekton will generate an additional 50% fury from all sources. Renekton's first ability is Cull the Meek. Renekton cleaves around himself in a circle, dealing physical damage to all nearby enemies and healing himself for each enemy hit, healing for even more when damaging an enemy champion. He also generates fury for each enemy struck. When empowered by his passive, Cull the Meek does additional damage, and the healing received from it is drastically increased, even more so against enemy champions. Renekton's second ability is Ruthless Predator. This ability causes Renekton to enhance his cleaver, making his next basic attack gain bonus range and strike the target twice, stunning them for a short time. Each slash applies on-hit effects and grants Renekton fury, and striking an enemy champion grants even more bonus fury. When enhanced by his passive, Renekton instead strikes 3 times, resulting in a much longer stun. This ability will reset Renekton's attack timer, meaning you should always try to use it after an initial auto attack for maximum damage output. Renekton's third ability is Slice, which causes Renekton to dash in the target direction and deal physical damage to all enemies he passes through. Upon hitting an enemy with Slice, for 4 seconds the ability can be recast as Dice, a second dash that functions the same and does the same damage to all enemies passed through again. Both Slice and Dice generate fury for each enemy hit, with more being generated if they dash through an enemy champion. If Renekton's passive is active, the Dice portion will be empowered to deal additional damage to enemies and also reduce their armor by a percentage for a short time. Renekton's ultimate is Dominus. Dominus empowers Renekton for 15 seconds, giving him bonus health, increased size, bonus range, and a flat amount of fury. For the duration, he also deals magic damage to all nearby enemies and generates a small amount of fury per second. During his ultimate, much like his brother Nasus, Renekton is much stronger and very hard to deal with due to his ability to quickly stack up multiple fury-empowered abilities and take advantage of their powerful effects. For Renekton's skill order, I recommend maxing Cull the Meek first, followed by Slice, and finally Ruthless Predator, taking a point in Dominus whenever available. Cull the Meek is Renekton's bread and butter skill, giving him strong damage and sustain, making him an especially powerful laner. Maxing Slice second helps lower the cooldown to increase your mobility and make sure you're able to reach the priority targets consistently once teamfights begin. When it comes to item builds for Renekton, I have a couple of recommendations I'd like to offer you. The first build revolves around rushing Blade of the Ruined King, which has high synergy with Renekton's second skill, taking advantage of on-hit effects and very effectively allowing him to shred both tankier opponents and squishies. It also provides him with lifesteal and attack speed, giving him high split pushing power. This build follows up with Black Cleaver for similar reasons, Renekton benefiting a lot from the stats such as ability haste and also quickly being able to take advantage of the Sunder passive and shred the target's armor. After these 2 core items, you should aim for Guardian's Angel, Sterak's Gauge, and Death's Dance, but the order will vary depending on what you're playing against. When dealing with heavy burst opponents, Death's Dance will help you delay their damage output, allowing you to take advantage of your sustain to heal up their damage and take them out, as well as providing you with even more valuable ability haste. Sterak's Gauge has great synergy with Renekton's passive, allowing him to survive even longer at lower HP and generate more fury, taking advantage of those excellent empowered abilities. Guardian Angel is a great item to round out your build or to buy when you're ahead, giving the opportunity to play extremely aggressive and trade your life for an opponent, then using the Revive passive to be able to come back and work with your team to slaughter the rest of your foes. The second build is actually still quite similar to the first, but instead of starting with Blade of the Ruined King, we're going to go for Trinity Force, a more expensive option that instead provides us with a host of useful stats like health, ability haste, and movement speed. We then follow up with the Black Cleaver again for the same reasons as the previous build. After these 2 core items, we can then go for similar items to the previous build as well, like Death Stance, Sterex Gauge, and Guardian Angel. But don't be afraid to pick up a Blade of the Ruined King in this build as well, later if you feel that you need more split pushing power or more damage against tankier opponents. This build is definitely a bit harder to get off the ground, but against a squishy lane opponent can provide you with very powerful early bulk and burst to be able to close the distance and destroy them quickly. When considering boot options for Renekton, your choice will generally revolve around the enemy team's lineup, with 2 major options being plated steel caps against heavy physical teams, or Mercury's treads against magic focused teams or teams with a lot of crowd control. If you're feeling like you can get away with it, Ionian Boots of Lucidity can also be a great choice, as Renekton benefits a lot from ability haste due to his abilities only being limited by their cooldowns. For boot enchantments, the 4 options I think you should consider are Protobelt, Glory, Teleport, and Stasis. Protobelt will provide you with even more gap closing ability, allowing you to easily catch your opponents off guard and surprise them by dashing into them and hitting them with a stun, allowing you to save your other cooldowns to follow up their escape attempts. I'd especially recommend this option if you're playing Renekton in the mid lane, for early roaming and playmaking power, as well as stronger skirmishing. Glory is an alternative to Protobelt that is not as quick, but will allow you to chase down an opponent over a larger area. This could be a good option if you're ahead in lane and can be used to easily catch your opponent and punish them, even when they don't feel like they're very far out of position. Teleport is the standard choice if you're playing Baron lane, as it allows you to consistently control the side waves throughout every stage of the game and be able to reach your team when important fights break out. Stasis can be a solid choice, especially if you're focusing on a more split push heavy playstyle and are playing against champions with important targeted skills, such as Camille, Darius, or Zed, giving you the ability to use Stasis at an opportune time to avoid these abilities and then kill them once it ends. In the lane phase, Renekton has a few core bread and butter trading combos. The first involves using your Slice ability either through enemy minions or the enemy champion to trigger the ability to use Dice. Then, auto attack your opponent and activate Ruthless Predator to instantly reset your auto attack and stun your opponent. While your opponent is stunned, auto again and activate Call the Meek to deal additional damage. Then you can use your Dice ability to jump backwards to safety, preventing your opponent from even trading back. This combo is even deadlier if you're able to get 50 Fury first, for your cast to be the Ruthless Predator, giving you a longer stun and even more time to deal damage, or for Call the Meek, allowing you to deal more damage and healing for more if you're perhaps lower in HP. Don't be afraid to dash in and use this combo inside even an enemy minion wave, as Renekton heals for more when hitting additional enemies with Call the Meek, allowing you to get an even healthier trade. Once you've managed to get your opponent low in lane, you can look for the all-in combo to seal the deal. Lock onto your opponent and attempt to flash Ruthless Predator combo on them, instantly stunning them with no chance for them to react. If available, pop Dominus and then use Slice to dash through your opponent, putting yourself between them and the safety of their tower. You can then use Call the Meek and your auto attacks to continue to chip them down, but save your dice to continue chasing for when they try to use their auto flash or escape abilities, or even just run to safety. This second combo can also be used in teamfights to try and engage on key targets when you're in range, and can even be combined with things like Protobelt to have an even larger engage distance. In teamfights, you'll generally want to try and reach the backline as often as possible. Pop Dominus early to give yourself additional fury generation and tankiness as you look for your engage. Take advantage of Slice, Dice, Flash, and potentially even Protobelt or Glory to get deep into the enemy backline. Don't be afraid to surround yourself with enemies, taking advantage of the high healing output that Call the Meek provides to help you sustain through the damage your enemies will throw at you. Try to use the empowered form of Call the Meek as often as you can during teamfights, as you will benefit even more from the empowered healing when hitting multiple enemy champions. The final aspect of Renekton that may come up in your games is his Nemesis Duel. Nemesis Duels are a unique mechanic to Wild Rift, and Renekton just becomes available when playing against his brother, Nasus. If you are both above level 13, alive, haven't taken any damage for a while, and are a fair distance apart, you may trigger a Nemesis Duel with your opponent. If you're able to slay your brother, he will receive a powerful buff for the rest of the game that gives you maximum fury throughout the entire duration of Dominus, giving you insane dueling and teamfighting power with constant empowered abilities. However, if Nasus manages to slay you, his Siphoning Strike will start to do AoE damage, allowing him to destroy your entire team with ease. Be careful if this event shows up, but don't hesitate to try and take out Nasus if possible to get a huge late game power spike. I believe Renekton will make a huge impact on Wild Rift, and hopefully with this guide I've armed you with the tools you'll need to be able to become true Butcher of the Sands. Don't forget to subscribe for more Wild Rift content, including more future guides like these, so you can be sure you're playing the best Wild Rift you can. I'll see you guys next time.